Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney, Pete Sweeney. Normally we talk to our guy Pete Sweeney on a Friday, but the station has decided to give us all the entire day off. So instead we will talk to Pete on a Thursday. Our Chiefs insider, editor-in-chief over at Arrowhead Pride. And apparently I'm not invited to family dinner, Pete. What's up? What's going on? Why can't I come?
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Binkley says you guys are going out to eat with the Sweeneys, and I don't remember getting an invitation.
Right, yeah. Jay and my dad have their own text going, right? So I don't have any say in these plans anymore. I've completely lost control of these two.
Wow, they're such good friends now, Pete, that you're the tag along?
I'm not even in there used to be like a three-way group. Now it's just a direct text between these two lunatics. So that's the hand that I've been given, Cody. So you can ask Vic if you can come to the family dinner. He has probably a bigger say than I do at this point.
Wow. Okay, Pete. Well, that's good to know. And we can certainly talk some Chiefs here before we talk more Sweeney family stuff, I suppose. But look, you and I have been accused of seeking out for the positive signs for the Chiefs offense. But look, I think some of it is somewhat truthful. Look, we all get tired of Andy Reid saying, it's getting better, I promise, I swear. But over the last month, the two areas in which I think that are better are they're moving the ball more efficiently up and down the field. And I think they've been better on third down overall and more efficient in those third and longs, especially against New England. Are those signs to you that, it's a turnover or a red zone problem left to have this offense back to respectability?
Yeah, I think last game was just the turnovers. And I know what you mean when it comes to like being unpopular for being positive. I just think the expectations right now on a year-to-year basis are completely unrealistic. In a few games, I tend to think the Chiefs will be the 2 seed. Right now, they're 3. They're about to clinch the division with 3 games to go, and the sky is still falling. I just don't. Yeah. It's never going to be something that I understand. But just specifically as far as the offense goes, like I look at last game, and that game was only close because of that awful turnover by the fault of Kadarius To. And even earlier in the game, the Chiefs were rolling, and it seemed like Blake Bell really didn't attack the ball, come to the ball, and that was a turnover as well. We put an article up on our site this morning. I know you guys have probably discussed it already, but just the balls being deflated, or that would have been 3 extra points in that game. So I think the offense is coming along. I really do. It's been gradual. At times it's been painful. But you look up and you're getting Isaiah Pacheco back this week. I've called him one of the top 5 running backs in the game. Rashee Rice is playing like one of the best wide receivers in the game these past 4 weeks. He's really come along. Still have Travis Kelce on this team, and now suddenly you have upside that you're seeing from Noah Gray and upside that you're seeing from Clyde Edwards-Helaire to go along with Jerick McKinnon. And seems like Justin Watson's been ultra reliable. They're going to give Richie James some more time. And so, sure, am I willing to admit that it can be better? Yeah. Am I believing that Brett Veach will go aggressive weapon-wise in the offseason? I do. But I will tell you the same thing that I've been saying since week 1, and I've been somewhat killed for, is like I think they have enough to win a championship. And so the annoying Aaron Rodgers said a few years ago, RELAX. I think that this team has enough. We'll see what they can do in the playoffs.
Isn't it kind of wild, Pete, that Patrick Mahomes still leads all NFL quarterbacks in total yardage? After all that, rushing and passing combined, no one has more yardage than he does.
Yeah, I've said this, and I try to be careful because I'm not trying to be a troll here, but I feel like if you just looked at your text line, if you looked at my comments on the site, if you looked at tweets back at me, if you looked at some of these influencers who never talk to the team, it would be like this is the worst team in the NFL. But as it turns out, it's still a pretty good team. I just think these first 5-6 years of the Mahomes era has set unrealistic expectations of it being by and far the best team every year. There are going to be years like that. There were years before like that. But again, there are going to be years where it's going to take a little bit more. It's going to take some things breaking your way during this whole thing for you to reach the promised land, so to speak. And I just think it's one of those years. We'll see what they can do in the postseason. They're a little bit closer to the pack than they've been, I think, in previous years. So they're going to have to play well. But still, this is one of the teams that can win the AFC. The Ravens right now, to me, are the team to beat, but the Chiefs are not that far off. And I by the time you would get to that game, because, again, I think it's going to be 1 Ravens, 2 Chiefs, maybe we're feeling completely different about that matchup into how close it is. Maybe it's even an advantage for the Chiefs.
Well, they are third in the NFL in passing at 255 yards a game, which is crazy. It shows you how good Mahomes has been this year. But you did mention Richie James, and you send him back on punt returns. He's catching the football. Guys in front of him. That goes a big way. He had 57 catches last year. Do you still think the trust is there for Tony? Because you know Reed likes to trust players and continue, but can you keep doing it without throwing Richie James in there for more snaps? He seemed a little surprised. He only had 2 snaps last week on offense. It really seemed like Andy wanted to get him more time this week.
Yeah, this was a conversation that we had on the Monday press. Jay, I know you listen to all the press conferences at least 3 times, so you've heard it now 3 times. Where we asked I asked about Kadarius To and the opportunities, and as is the Andy Reid special, he didn't really want to go into details there. That usually tells you, like, yeah, they're thinking about maybe changing the roles up. And I think that isolated is one thing, but then when you compare it with what he was saying about Richie James, where another reporter asked, well, what about James? And he's just like, we have to get him on the field more. And you look at these last 3 games, James has had 17 offensive snaps, 3 catches for 33 yards. That yardage is more than it was for Sky Moore. Again, while he was still playing, I know he's on IR now, and that yardage is more than Tony had in that span. So the writing is on the wall. These Chiefs offensive coaches are always like, look, when we're asking about players like a Richie James, like a Justin Ross, Matt Nagy will say, well, in the limited opportunities, they need to take advantage of those snaps. James has done that. And so while you have the player that is in the starting snaps making all these mistakes, James has really taken advantage of the limited opportunities, open enough so Patrick Mahomes has noticed him. There's no way on some of these catches James was the first read. And so I just tend to think you're going to see more time from him, probably somewhere in that range of the 20 to 30 snaps that maybe we've seen from Kadarius To and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Yeah.
Pete, over the last few weeks, I would say borderline a month, Justin Reid has really slipped in his play. I feel like before that last season, he was better at this time of year. I thought in the early part of the season, he was having a good start to his year. What do you think it is with him? Is it because he went down on the field a few weeks ago and he's just still ticky-tack injury stuff, or is he just playing worse football?
Yeah, it could be a little bit of both. I mean, everyone's getting older, right? And so, you don't know what's going on. And we only hear about the severe injuries, kind of to your point. Could be nagging things all year. You don't know how serious certain things are. I think he's at a disadvantage now that his partner in crime, Brian Cook, is on injured reserve. That's a lot of that's a big drop, and maybe bigger than we're talking about to compensate for in that point. But look, Justin Reid remains confident, as you've seen on social media, and you can kind of tell from his manner and the way he kind of communicates. And I tend to think he'll get it right by the time the postseason begins. He's a big time player, and he's got. I mentioned the deficiency right now when it comes to the free. He's got really nice quarterback tandem to work with, and so I think and I hate to say this, but and reiterate, but I just think the theme this year is like the Chiefs don't have to be great to win a Super Bowl. They just have to be good enough. And so if Justin Reid can get back to a point of good enough and a little bit more away from, at times what has been a liability, I think you'll feel okay about a potential run here.
I kind of feel I absolutely understand what you're saying, especially based on this AFC, which I've called pretty mediocre. And I think that that's probably the case. Nobody's a standout team. Will you feel differently if the Ravens beat the 49ers? Will we all treat them as a different level of opponent if they win this weekend, or I guess Monday night?
Yeah, I think they have a good chance to win. I really do. I feel, I watched the last Ravens game, and I was really just impressed with the way that Lamar Jackson is playing. I know that maybe the stats aren't, particularly there, and I've seen the arguments for everything. I've seen the arguments for CMC and Purdy, and obviously Tyreek Hill as the MVP. But you look at all those teams, and you look at the player that has the most to do with their success, and you talk about value. I just think the Ravens wouldn't be the Ravens right now, and they wouldn't be two games ahead of the Chiefs, a game ahead of the conference, if it wasn't for the play of Lamar. This is going to be a test. Can he do it against clearly the best team in the NFC. This is a must-watch game on Christmas evening, and I think it'll raise them a little bit, but I have a lot of respect for the Ravens right now. You know, I put them right now at the top of the conference, deservedly so. They're playing the best at the right time. I think the Chiefs are actually right there. Probably feel like that a little bit more than other people. But I think in the eyes of the national audience, they will suddenly become not the team to beat in the AFC, but the team to beat, period. And that's kind of how the perspective would shift, I would believe.
Pete, one of your tweets that caused a lot of traction yesterday, the Chiefs, 8 conference titles going back to 2015. The Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders each had 15. Obviously, they're all tied at 15 right now. The Chiefs win Christmas Day. They'll have 16 AFC West championships, which is the most ever. Be their 8th straight, passing the Rams from the 70s, and only the Patriots stayed in their way with 11 straight division titles. How crazy is this when you think about, the NFC East has 18 straight different division winners in the last 18 years. To win for 8 straight years, do we take that for granted, winning the division?
Yeah, big time. I mean, it's hard to do. And I think I like that stat a lot because it has as much to do with Andy Reid as it does Patrick Mahomes. I think a lot of people see the Chiefs' success and they go, you guys have Patrick Mahomes. Well, he went 10th. He didn't go first overall. Anyone could have had Patrick Mahomes. So the organization deserves credit for figuring out how to get him in the building. But even before that, just to do it with Alex Smith for all those years. Alex Smith, he was a good quarterback. I would say, if we're being fair about it, slightly above average. Andy Reid really built his team around bringing someone in like that. He righted the ship, and they were able to build on it from there. And I just think there was a time when Clark Hunt and the Hunt family, they looked towards teams like the Steelers and the Packers and like the New York Giants of, that's the organization that we want to be. We want to have championship caliber teams once in a while here. We want to be able to make a run. We want to have sustained success, be in the playoffs. They got it wrong the first time, as we all know. Yeah. But then they got it right. They got it right with Andy Reid and bringing in John Dorsey, and then by extension grooming Brett Veach to take that role. Alex really helped turn it around, and then Patrick was able to kind of push you to where you're able to win 2 Super Bowl championships. And so just something to remember. I think as the Chiefs are on the cusp of having the most AFC West division titles in history, is 8 years ago they had half the amount. And as we're complaining about wide receiver 2, it's important to remember that you're in the glory days. Like in that saying, the good old days, you're living the good old days right now of the Chiefs organization.
Pete, we appreciate the time as always. All I ask is that later when you talk to Patrick Mahomes, I want to find out, because it goes to charity, whether or not his fine is tax deductible. Will you find that out for me?
You know what I'm going to do is not ask that question, but I will recommend it to somebody else. Maybe by proxy we can get that done for
Set
you.
a trap for somebody else.
Are you going to watch the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl with your Syracuse Orangemen, soon to be Kyle McCord, a quarterback?
Yeah, I'll be watching it with you. Right. Hopefully they can put it on for me in Mission over there. I'm hoping so.
I bet you can. Thanks, Pete. Talk to you later.